Okay, you're done with your story page. I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of stories you put up, or if you put your English compo there, by all means, that's fine. Okay, so when you press done, you'll be brought over to the next tutorial, and the next tutorial is all about your favorites tab. Okay, and this favorites tab has a few emojis over here, hobbies, foods, and guess my favorite colors. Okay, so in this section, what we're going to see is we're going to see more things on layout. Okay, so you see hobbies, and you'll notice that there's a title at the top, right? There's a V-stack, and this is V-stack with a text of favorites. It's got large title, bold, and it's got a lot of padding. And now the padding actually specifies how much padding. Okay, 40 padding at the bottom. So if you change this, instead of 40, you give it like 70. All right, then you give it even more space. All right, so that's nice. Okay, so it says over here that there's a lot of the same code in each section. There are some key differences worth pointing out. Okay, how are these things aligned to one side? You might have noticed that when we put things on the page, they do tend to be centered right in the middle. Okay, so how are these things aligned to one side? Why can you scroll these, right? If you notice, if you just drag these back and forth, these can be scrolled back and forth. How are the colors hidden? Right, so let's take a look. Right, first things first, how are they aligned to one side? So let's take a look at the contents of our hobbies. So you can see over here, there's an H tag with the title. Okay, and there's this thing called a spacer. All right, interesting. What happens if we remove it? Okay, interesting. So what that does is it seems to have pushed itself back into the middle of the page where it is by default. Right, if you bring it back, the spacer will actually push the words all the way to the left of the screen. Intriguing. Let's go take a look at this next part. There are 3 emojis over here, right? The H tag has a spacing of 20, which means that they are 20 apart from one another. Feel free to just adjust these and fiddle with them as we go along. So I'm going to change this 20, for example, to, let's say, 50. Okay, and you can see that now they're further apart. Okay, so just change these and see what effect they have on your code. And now you see there's another spacer down here. What happens if I comment this out? Okay, then they land in the middle of the screen. Right, so it seems that your views have a tendency to congregate in the middle of the screen, okay? And the spacer is something like an invisible element that takes up as much space as it can. All right, if you remember from the previous video, the text on screen, at the title of your story, tried to take up only as much space as it could until we gave it a frame with a max width of infinity, right? But now, until we give it a frame with a width of infinity, meaning take up as much space as you can, right, rather than as much space as you have to. Now though, if I add spacer, spacer just says, well, you know what, there's so much space, I'm going to fill it up. Okay, here's one thing you can try. You can take this spacer, right, you can delete it away from here. I'm going to press Command X to cut it, okay, and I am going to first of all reduce the spacing between my different elements in the H tag so it's a bit more obvious. Okay, there you go, they're definitely in the middle, right? If I add the spacer before all of these elements, what do you think is going to happen? Where are the elements going to land? Think about it, think some more. Okay, here's the spacer. Right, it's going to push everything to the other side, okay, because the spacer comes first. Spacer says, I want to take up lots of space, I'm a spacer. All right, but the other 3 things, they have a certain amount of space that they take up, so the spacer is like, fine, you take up that amount of space, but I'm taking the rest, everything else is mine, okay? So treat a spacer as something that just eats up as much space as it can, okay? So that's what's been going on, right? When you add a spacer at the very end of this H tag, it will literally just eat up all the space that it can, okay? And it will push everything all the way to the front, okay? Notice that when I pasted it here, the alignment is a little bit off. That's not very nice. You can fix it manually by pressing backspace, but I want to show you a keyboard shortcut. Just press Control I, hold down the Control key, not Command, Control, and press I, and it will fix the indentation so that it lands in the same place as everything else. So that now you know that the spacer is on the same level as these 3 pieces of text. Okay, so let's look through the instructions. It's telling me more about the fact that there's a spacer here, there's a spacer here, and there's a spacer here. Okay, so this is how you push things around the page. All right, so here's one more thing you can do. So you notice over here that earlier on I added a whole bunch of padding so that my favorites is all the way at the top, right? So maybe if I reduce this, I just want this to be a padding of 20, but I still want my entire view to be pushed all the way to the top. How do you think I should do it? Think about it for a moment, and here's how you do it. you can add it to the bottom of this V-stack. Okay, the very bottom of this V-stack. This V-stack is very long, okay, but I know that it ends over here. If I add a spacer over here, okay, what it does is it pushes everything to the top because this spacer at the bottom will try and eat up as much space as possible. Once again, the indentation here is not great. I'm going to press Ctrl I to fix it and put it where it should belong. Okay, so that's spacers. Very cool, very useful. Okay, next we're going to move on to the next segment where we talk about customizing your hobbies and foods and favorite colors. Okay, so this next part over here, it says, okay, the emoji are just text strings, right? So notice that these are actually emojis, they are text, okay? And I hope you know how to get your emoji keyboard. There's usually a globe arrow on your keyboard that you can get to, but there's another keyboard shortcut that you can use. You can use Control Command Space, and what that does is it pulls up your emoji keyboard and you can replace this with something else. For example, maybe my hobby is elephants. I'm not sure that an elephant is a hobby, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the mountain biker over here and replace it with an elephant. Once again, the keyboard shortcut, Control Command Space, and you can search for the thing you want. Let's have a more legit hobby like computers. All right, and you can just go here and grab this nice iMac over here. Okay, my hobby is staring at an iMac. Sure, okay, so that's how you can adjust these hobbies over here. If you want to add a lot of hobbies, you can actually delete the spacer, okay? And you notice that you're going to run out of space. So, makes sense, right? Delete spacer, run out of space. So I'm just going to select all these, okay? Let's copy them, okay? And let's paste them down here. And you'll notice that, okay, well, we seem to be running out of space, right? Let's paste again. Once again, watch out for the 10 item limit. But you'll notice that now, if I try and fit all these things into this H stack, they no longer fit. All right, let's take a look at the next segment, right? The foods over here seems to have a solution for us. This foods here has a scroll view. Okay, this scroll view is something that lets you scroll from side to side. Okay, a scroll view by default will scroll vertically. You saw that in the story tab. But if you do it like this, scroll view bracket dot horizontal, you can scroll from side to side. Very, very handy. Okay, so see if you can fix the scroll view over here. All right, so this one just says H stack right here. You're going to need to put this inside a scroll view. All right, so you might want to pause the video, try it out for yourself. Have you paused? Okay, here you go. Scroll view, open bracket, dot horizontal, open curly brace, right? And then grab this entire H stack. How do you grab the H stack? Well, you might want to tap on this curly brace right here. Okay, and if you scroll down, you'll notice that it almost got everything except for the padding. So choose select as text. Okay, and you can hold down shift to select some more with your arrow keys, or you can use your finger and just drag this over here. Okay, so just tap on it, cut. Okay, be careful, it seems to have selected everything but the H stack, which is not ideal. Okay, so I'm just going to go up here, type in H stack, and then paste what I had previously selected. Okay, so now you can see that over here. It's a bit hard to see. I'm going to close this real quick. Right, this scroll view contains an H stack with a whole bunch of things, okay, and a bit of padding around it. All right, let me just delete away the space. Okay, but now it's no longer squished and I can scroll through all my repeated hobbies. Okay, so let's get back to our little tutorial. It's down here. Right, customize the favorites tab. And I might need to go back to my current tutorial, which was to use a scroll view to add more favorite foods. Okay, so feel free to use this. I'm just going to copy this. These all look very delicious. Food. All right, and I'm going to paste them down here by tapping here and choosing paste. Okay, all right, more food. Delicious. Okay, so let's keep going. What we're going to do next is we're going to figure out this guess my favorite colors bit. All right, so let's go next and next. Have you figured out how your colors are hidden? Hang on, let me get rid of this little pop-up. I think you just need to tap somewhere else. Okay, for it to go away. Just tap somewhere for it to go away. Okay. How does SwiftUI know to hide your favorite colors so someone can guess them? Okay. Is this view called a disclosure group? Okay. Disclosure group will set it up so that you have to tap on this arrow. And I think all of you instinctively know that you can tap on this arrow and it will fold and it will show the elements that are inside. So inside is actually an H stack with these different color elements, okay? And these different color elements are different ways of defining color. So first one is color.purple. Okay. Second one is color with a hue, saturation, and brightness. Those of you who use graphics programs, you might be used to this kind of color definition. And the last one is just color.orange. Okay. In the tutorial, they give you some other ideas like color with red, green, and blue. I think we mentioned this before. It's how red it is, how green it is, and how blue it is, right? These three colors of light, when combined, will give you a whole variety of colors. Okay, so the numbers here go from 0 to 1. You can just adjust them and see what colors you get. You can use shades of gray. Just set a number from 0 to 1. Color white colon 0 gives you black, which means no white whatsoever. White colon 1 gives you completely white. Okay, so feel free to change these around, and do take note of these things like frame. You're setting them to be 70 by 70 squares and giving them a corner radius of 10. Feel free to adjust these as well. Okay, so finally, if you want to give people a hint about what your favorite color is, you'll notice that this is a blue color thing. So if you copy this .accent color.purple and you put it after .padding, right, let's see what happens. Okay, what this does is it actually changes the color of your view so that anything that is requiring some kind of action, right, has an accent color. You've probably seen accent color in some of your apps, like in Notes, the accent color is yellow. In Calendar, the accent color is red. Okay, so different apps have different accent colors. In this case, it's just, changing it to be something that you like. It's up to you. You can feel free to adjust it or leave it alone if you like. All right, so that's it for this tab. See you in the next one.